Привет из Дубая! С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about freelance and let's start with definition.
Freelance, it's a very ancient term, and this was a name for the people who were free to work whenever they want. They have an armor, they have some skills, and they were paying by people who wanted to have an army. And these people were usually very skillful, they were very useful, and they were well paid. So the main reason why we use this term right now, because a lot of people became digital nomads. They want to stay at Bali, at Thailand, and some other hot countries to be away from open spaces, to be away from angry bosses, to be away from strict rules, to sit in shorts in some, I don't know, bars, working with notebooks, with drinks, and thinking that life is good.
So when actually painting this colorful picture of the digital nomad or digital mercenary who offers his lance or sword or brains or hands in order to get some value, so what are the fundamental things or even principles we need to be aware of?
Maxim, I was working several times with digital nomads and freelancers, and suddenly, for myself, I find them quite capable. First, they were very hard workers. They were hard workers. For example, in Sella, it's company which was producing casual wear for whole family. There were a designer, and she was working from India. And when I was sending to her letters, everything was done within 24 hours, immediately, almost immediately. And it was lovely. Second, sometimes you will find that the salary for people who work from Belarus or Ukraine or Moldova much cheaper, and they are quite talented. And you can pay, for example, for 10% more than they expected, and they will devote it for work for 110%. And maybe last things, when you find a person who could work without your pressure, without your control, it's like a miracle, because when you work in open space, you have a lot of trouble with your employees. First, they want another kind of coffee, another sort of coffee. They want you to change the coffee machine. They want to have air conditioning to be cleaned like one week, every 1 week, and so on.
So it's actually interesting because at one of the skills you were mentioning this because like when you do give your staff more like benefits or preferences, the more greedy they become to like all of this couple of little things that they want to get out from your pocket. But when it comes to the freelancing, so what are the steps or what are the levels they need to achieve in order to actually become to such level when they are independent, when they can execute, and when they actually can like exceed expectations, deliver more, and live more like independent and financially successful life?
This was an occasion I was working with one girl. She was very tricky, and I was trying to give her more and more complex tasks. Suddenly, she astonished me by saying, "Okay, thank you, Oleg. I have enough money, and now I will downshift and I will live in Thai." And I was asking, why you have spent so many years with me? Why you were forcing such a big fences? Why you were learning all this way? And suddenly you want to be downshifted? And she said, I have no other choice. I am alone, and I want just to be free as a bird, and I will live whatever I want and whenever I want. And I asked her, but how you will work? And suddenly she said, I will not work. I will grow some veg, some fruits. I will sell it. I will just go in some swimming wear to the beach, and I will stay there. And I was saying to her, okay, you have one a year. If you will return, I will take you back, but maybe on some other position, maybe a bit lower. But she never returned back, and I was writing her maybe 5 or 4 years ago, and she just sent me nice pictures.
And actually, it's funny enough to add to what you said, because after reading some sort of like the blog post, or like even watching some videos of the digital nomads, it seems that one of the things that do face, obviously, yes, they gain this like a freedom to work in whatever coffee shop or country they like on the projects they admire, but at certain point of time they also might be facing some things like the like loneliness in general, and maybe even like will start to look for sort of like a self-fulfillment in their life, so which could bring them to like a different and strange places. So again, going back to the topic, what are the things that might be taken wrong from both sides, from the contractor and the person who's being contracted, like in order to to avoid, so what are the mistakes they should be aware of?
If you want to live on your own, to stay close to the ocean, you need to have contractor, as you already told, and this contractor should be sure that you will work and you will never give up, and you will make all the tasks quite in the time which are expected. But many people who live on the beaches, they trying to smoke something, to make yoga, to sing some kind of songs, to meet some very strange people, and maybe they will give to themselves some unexpected vacation or trips, and suddenly they will find that they are already blocked and no one will answer for their calls and for their letters. So first, when you are going to be a digital nomad, you should have several contractors which are quite sure that you are good enough to work with them for long term. Second, you should improve your skills, because one day your contractor will get an email from your neighbor that he or she could make something cheaper and maybe faster. And it is like соперничество,
Competition.
like a competition. You could not win if you are not driving for full speed. And third, you should show your work in articles or maybe in some other ways in professional networks like LinkedIn or some other, to give a hint to other people that you could serve them. When you're a contractor, you should find also several freelancers and you should make competition among them. You will give some time for 2 or 3 persons the same part of job to find who make it faster and better, who make documentation, who make illustration, who make programming, who make testing. And then you could combine them in one team, and they will sit in other places, but they will be forced to give you a complete set of documents and program code and all other which are expected. And this is quite useful because they will sometimes hire or fire people by themselves instead of you. And the last thing, you should have at least 10% of your employees at the site, because sometimes these digital nomads will stay away from the internet or away from the connection. They will be not available by the mail.
And when it comes to the side of the digital nomad person as well, what are the progression levels they might have? Like, for example, whether it will make sense for them to transform itself into like a digital agency, or maybe, like get a couple of people who could actually replace them, so that it's not only one-man army, but at least a squad that could help to make their career or business, or like maybe even like a little company, sustainable. So does it make sense for them to look into this path? Or sometimes, and I do believe I also know a couple of these cases, they actually would turn back and would become a normal employee, or become like another corporate soldier. So what is the common path for them?
When I talk with freelancers, I usually telling them about such a story that wolves, they have a team, and also they have drawn by their own, which are ravens. Ravens are very heavy to cut some piece of meat of that animal, but this could be done by the wolves. From other side, raven could be storage,
Word, guard
for wolf's team, and it will fly above the trees. So I'm always saying, do not try to be a digital nomad by yourself. Find a sustainable squad. find the people who will replace you if something happens. Maybe you will have disease, maybe you will have some illness, maybe you have good mood, bad mood, sorry. In case if you will have spare pairs of lungs, brains, or food, it will help.
And when it comes to the future of the digital mercenaries, so how does it look like? Because person who actually not really would fancy any corporate things, and they actually would look into how can they accomplish whatever they've given in the short possible period of time with a acceptable quality. So how does the technology or like maybe other things could help them? Let's say maybe it could be some sort of like a geopolitical things. For example, as far as I know, Portuguese, they actually introduced some sort of like the visas allowing them to move freely. So how the future looks like?
To be honest, there is no future because there were no past. I was a digital nomads maybe like for 30 years. When I was on the second course in Kyiv Polytechnical Institute, I was working for Intel, then for Motorola, then for IT. So I was digital nomad for a very long period. And even now, a lot of companies like Marriott, like Google and so on, they ask me and my team to do some job, and they never ask how many people I have. They just give us amount of money, amount of task, and they just wait until we will send it back. So this is just quite common. You know, when it was after Second World War, a lot of Americans were visiting Soviet Union to build factories and plants. After defeat of the Japan, Edward Deming, which are professional for operational excellence, he also was moved from America to Japan, and he was working for benefits of this empire. So it's quite common. People are using this scheme of nomads, maybe not digital, for, I don't know, maybe for 300 years. Even when we talk about, I don't know how to say it in English, крестоносцы,
Crusaders.
Even crusaders, they were also freelancers.
Всегда держите свое цифровое копье острым. А мы рассмотрели навык фриланс и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!